Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Resident Evil 4, aka Biohazard 4, is a survival horror game released back in 2005. It was published and developed by Capcom. It's the 6th installment in the series. Yes, you heard me right. And you're probably wondering, why is it then called Resident Evil 4 and not Resident Evil 6? Well, it's because between Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 4 there were Resident Evil Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0. 0 is actually the 5th installment.
Right.
Why did they continue with the numbers? I don't really know. Anyways, the game received a lot of praise from the critics and it also won lots of Game of the Year awards. This game is widely regarded as one of the best in the franchise and I agree. I've played this game like a million times and I know its every nook and cranny. This game also had a demo version where the famous Hookman appeared. Unfortunately, that enemy only appears in that version of the game, which is totally different from the game we all got. But there's hope because Resident Evil 4 remake is in the works, so we may see Hookman again. Who knows?
That's a mouthful.
Today I'm going to give you my thoughts on Resident Evil 4. The game opens up with a backstory of the Raccoon City incident. That incident occurred during Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, and it almost has nothing to do with Resident Evil 4. It's just there for some reason.
Umbrella was finished.
Anyways, we're introduced to our protagonist, Leon Scott Kennedy, who is a US government agent, and these two cops. Leon is tasked with finding the US president's daughter, who has been abducted and is being held somewhere in Spain. I don't actually know how they guessed that she was in this village. It's not like Spain is a small country, you know. After Leon arrives in the village, he says bye to our good cops and checks on a house nearby. Inside the house, there's a villager who warmly greets Leon. After that warm welcome, Leon kills his first infected villager. A few moments after that, Leon encounters a wolf or a dog, I don't actually know. We'll say it's a dog who is trapped in a bear trap. Leon cautiously helps the dog and the dog runs away. After that, we stumble upon a village where the natives attack Leon on sight. After a quick fight with the natives, El Salvador, or Chainsaw Man, drops by to say hi.
Chainsaw.
Leon kills a few villagers, then a church bell rings and all of the villagers disappear.
Where's everyone going?
Also, at the center of the village, we see one of the cops who drew us earlier. He is very much dead.
Why am I the one who always gets the short end of the stick?
Leon continues his journey through the village, where he kills a few more villagers, outruns a giant boulder, and meets Luis Serra, who is tied up in a closet. Leon frees him and starts a brief conversation with him. They're interrupted by the village chief, Big Cheese. Big Cheese is the first boss of the game. He instantly knocks out Leon and Luis and captures them. We soon see that some dude in a robe starts blabbering and gives us a vaccine against COVID in the neck. Just kidding, Leon gets infected by the Plaga parasite. He's infected in an early stage of the Plaga, so it doesn't have much effect at the moment, but there will be problems when it gets bigger, that's what she said. Anyways, Leon and Luis have a conversation about each other when suddenly they're interrupted by a villager with an axe. The villager misses both Leon and Luis and hits their chain and breaks it. Both Luis and Leon escape. Right now I should mention Hunnigan. She's working with Leon and occasionally contacts Leon to ask how he was coming along or to give him information. Anyway, Leon bumps into the merchant who sells Leon guns or equipment or buys something from Leon. This dude is mysterious and we don't really know anything about him except that he's everywhere in Resident Evil 4. He also gets mentioned by Duke in Resident Evil Village. Leon traverses through the village, encountering villagers, chainsaw men, fish, Big Cheese. He also discovers where the president's daughter is being held, and that's in a church. Leon eventually stumbles upon a lake. This lake holds a terrible secret. It has a big fish rat thingy called the Lago, and of course Leon kills it and continues his way until he has a panic attack or something and loses his consciousness. He has a nightmare about converting into a zombie or something, and he suddenly wakes up. Soon after, he obtains a key to open the church and heads that way. On his way back, he gets attacked by El Gigante, who is a giant humanoid thing. In this fight, Leon gets helped by his old friend, the dog. After the fight, the dog vanishes and it was never seen again. Eventually, Leon enters the church, solves a puzzle, and encounters the most annoying creature in the universe, Ashley Graham, also known as the president's daughter.
Don't come!
After that, Leon gets introduced to Sadler, the dude in the robe who was blabbering earlier.
The master of this fine religious community.
He tells Leon his plan for Ashley, dumbass. The plan is that he infects both Leon and Ashley with a plague parasite and send them back to the USA. This of course never happens because Sadler is a dumbass who tells his plans to his enemy. The two escape from Sadler and make their way to the extraction point. They meet up with Lewis in a cabin, and then the hardest battle in the game starts. Eventually, after 50 deaths, Leon and Lewis successfully defend the cabin from the villagers.
So I guess we have no choice but to keep moving.
Also, I should mention that the villagers are actually called Ganados, but I'm just going to call them villagers. After the battle for the cabin, Leon and Ashley make their way through the village, facing off another El Gigante or the twin Chainsaw sisters. Eventually, Leon gets ambushed by Big Cheese and transforms into a hideous creature. Leon of course defeats him and takes his false eye. That false eye is needed to exit the village. After escaping the village, Leon gets ambushed again by the villagers and he has no choice but to enter a castle outside the village.
On the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
We soon learn that this castle is filled with Los Iluminados, Castle Ganados, wow, that rhymes, a cult that are controlled by the Plaga parasite. The owner of this castle is Ramon Salazar, a little annoying dude with an annoying laugh.
I was starting to wonder when you might notice us. Me llamo Ramon Salazar, the 8th Castellan of this magnificent architecture.
Salazar traps Leon and Ashley inside the castle, but Leon finds a way to complete the puzzles inside the castle and eventually escape. Our hero traverses through the castle, encountering the Castle Ganados or Garador, a blind big man with iron claws, Armadura, the Castle Knights or Armor or something which is controlled by the Plaga, Novistadors, the goddamn annoying mosquito thingies who can melt your goddamn face. Also, they're invisible sometimes. Eventually, Ashley gets trapped because she wouldn't listen to Leon. Salazar then contacts Leon via the phone thingy and informs him that the communications with Hannigan had been cut off.
We didn't want you telling everyone any unnecessary information.
Leon tries to find his way to Ashley but bumps into Ada Wong, who is an undercover agent working for Albert Wesker. Her mission is to find the Plaga sample and deliver it to Wesker. Yeah, Wesker is in this game, but he never appears in the main campaign. He only appears in the Separate Ways campaign. After a brief conversation with Ada, Leon continues his way and is found by Lewis, who gets killed by Salazar. Lewis tells Leon on his deathbed that he was a scientist working for Salazar. He was working on the Plaga parasite with him. In his last words, Lewis tells Leon to stop Salazar at all costs and gives him pills to temporarily stop the Plaga from growing inside Leon.
The sample. Sadler took it. You have to get it back.
We then get to play as Ashley, where she completes some puzzles, sets the Castle Ganados on fire, and eventually reunites with Leon. After that, Leon and Ashley search for a way to escape the castle, encountering the damn Novistadors again, who capture Ashley again. Eventually, Leon finds Ashley again, but he gets trapped by Salazar in the sewer. In this sewer, Leon battles the Verdugo. Verdugo is one of the two of Salazar's bodyguards. It It also moves with lightning speed and has a wide variety of attacks. Leon of course kills the Verdugo and continues his quest. There's a cutscene where it seems that Leon isn't the only American, but we'll talk about him soon. He moves through the sewer, the mines, a big room with Salazar statue who chases Leon but falls into a deep hole. Leon finds Salazar and the other Verdugo going up an elevator. He follows them into a big room with a big thingy in the wall. Leon finds out that Ashley was sent to a military island nearby, but in order to get to that island he has to defeat Salazar, who has merged with the Verdugo and has become a large dick. Leon gives his regards with a rocket launcher to the face and heads to the island with Ada. Once they arrive on the island, Ada goes her way and Leon instantly encounters the military ganados. One such ganado is a huge dude who wields a minigun. Leon somehow evades or kills the ganados and enters the laboratory part of every Resident Evil game. Now, in every Resident Evil game, the laboratory part usually means that there's some kind of enemy that you haven't encountered before, and that enemy is usually one tough son of a bitch. For Resident Evil 4, that enemy is the terrifying Regenerator. The reason why it's so terrifying is because you can hear it breathing from a mile away. You can't kill it easily, and it does huge damage to you once it gets near you. Its only weakness is that it's slow as a turtle. Whatever you do, do not shoot it in the legs. It will only make it worse for you. Anyways, after evading the Regenerator, Leon goes into a freezer where he can see some prototype Regenerators that never made to the final game. In this room you can find the scope that helps you with killing these enemies. Not long after that, Leon finds Ashley, but she's behind a locked door. That door can only be opened with a keycard. Leon then searches for the keycard and encounters a different type of Regenerator, the Iron Maiden Regenerator. This Regenerator is almost the same as the regular one, except this one has spikes all over its body, and once it gets near you, those spikes become huge and can impale Leon. You can't avoid this Regenerator because it has a keycard on its body which you need to obtain in order to progress. Leon takes the keycard and frees Ashley and tries to find a way off the island by jumping into a dumpster with Ashley. Not long after that, they find a bulldozer. Ashley drives it while Leon covers her. But it's a short journey because they get rammed by a truck and Ashley drives into a building. Now, without the bulldozer, they continue on foot, but that journey is also short because Ashley gets possessed by Salazar while Leon gets stunned by the parasite inside of him.
Ashley!
Now Leon is tasked again with finding the most annoying person in the world. While searching for her, Leon gets attacked suddenly by the other American. That other American is Jack Krauser, Leon's former partner. They have a knife fight, but it's through a cutscene and quick time events, and Leon gets saved by Ada eventually.
Ada! Well, if it isn't the bitch in the red dress.
Soon Leon encounters it, a creature seemingly created by Salazar. Leon fights it and ultimately wins and kills it. Leon's break is short-lived as he encounters Krauser again. Krauser set a bomb to detonate nearby, and the only way to escape the bomb is through a door. That door is locked as it needs 3 keys to open it. Those keys are scattered around the area where you fight Krauser.
You've lost it completely, Krauser.
Now, I don't really get the beef between them two, but it has something to do with Salazar's trust of Krauser. By killing Leon, Krauser gains trust with Salazar, and that gets him near the Plaga sample. Why does he need the Plaga sample, you ask? Well, because he's working with Ada to obtain it. Remember that Ada was working for Wesker, and her task is to obtain the sample. Ada doesn't trust Krauser and vice versa, but they have to work together.
I don't trust you, nor does Wesker. If you try to do anything clever, I will kill you.
Anyways, Leon seemingly kills Krauser and escapes. After a brief conversation with Salazar via the phone thingy, Leon gets assisted by Mike, who is in a helicopter. But that assistance is short as Mike gets shot down by Salazar's henchmen. Leon gets his panic attack again and attacks Ada, but he soon snaps out of it.
Sorry, Ada.
He continues his journey and eventually finds Ashley. And soon after that, they find a machine that destroys the parasite in them without killing them. They remove the plague up, but in order to escape the island, Leon must kill Salazar. He finds him and Ada, who is tied by a rope. Leon frees Ada and in return, she helps him kill Salazar by throwing him a RPG launcher. Leon uses it on Salazar and kills him. Leon gets his hands on the Plaga sample but gives it to Ada because Ada had a gun pointed at Leon. After that, Ada throws keys for a jet ski nearby, which Leon uses it to escape with Ashley.
Very cute.
They avoid mounds of rocks and eventually escape, ending the game. Now, this game was released back in 2005 and I think this game was the first with the QTAs, or maybe it was the most famous game with the QTAs, I don't know. All I know that this game was filled with QTAs. If you failed these quick time events, you would die instantly, which makes these events kinda fun. This game is divided into chapters and levels inside the chapter, so there's loading screens. When a chapter ends, you would get a statistic showing how many times you died, and it will show you your accuracy, how many enemies you killed, and etc. If you died like 0 times throughout the whole game, congrats, because you're getting nothing out of it. It's just there for some reason as a weird statistic.
It makes me feel better. Let's just leave it at that.
Also, the game would offer you to save when a chapter ends. As for the saving, you're saving via typewriters scattered throughout the game, like earlier Resident Evil titles, but this time you don't carry any of the inks, you can save it to infinity. Your health is shown on the screen and you can extend your health by combining yellow herbs with green herbs. As for the herbs, there are 3 types of herbs. The green herb is basically your regular health replenisher. You have a yellow herb which is used to extend your health, and the red herb which is used to replenish your health to the max available. Also, you can heal yourself with these first aid spray canisters, eggs and fish. I forgot to mention that you can only use the green herbs individually. In order to use the yellow and the red herb, you must combine them with the green herb. You can also combine red and yellow herbs, but you can't use them without the green herb. These first aid canisters and herbs are stored in your inventory. At the start of the game, your inventory is small, but after meeting with the merchant, you can upgrade its size. Throughout the game, these upgrades will become unlocked. You can also store your weapons and ammo in your inventory. Fortunately, treasure found throughout the game doesn't get stored in your inventory, but rather in a different inventory which has unlimited space. You can also upgrade your weapons at the merchant and also buy weapons from him. Some weapons are must-haves, but others are totally useless, and you would probably be better off buying an upgrade for your older weapon than buying a new weapon. You buy these upgrades or equipments with pesetas. They're everywhere throughout the game. When you kill your enemies, they will sometimes drop the money, but other times they'll drop the ammo or herbs. You can also gain pesetas with selling your treasure items or selling your weapons or items or ammo or herbs. At the start of the game, there's this kind of mini game with the blue medallions. You shoot these medallions in order to win a prize. That prize is a pistol which has drastically reduced damage, and it's kinda pointless. I suggest that you collect these medallions. You have to shoot at least 10 of them to get the prize and sell the prize immediately afterwards, because you can get 10,000 pesetas. As for the sound, the game has good environment sound and good weapon sounds. I don't really know any soundtracks from the game that stuck inside my head, like, I don't know, for example, Crysis 2 soundtrack maybe. The most annoying sound is the Ashley sound, definitely. When she screams, I would like rather let the game end than save her and continue on. Now, I've already said earlier that I've played this game like a million times. I started playing this game when I was, I don't know, maybe 12 years old, so there's a lot of nostalgia here. And nostalgia is a dangerous drug. There are many good things in this game, like for example the rich story, the good gameplay, good voice acting, and etc. I forgot to mention that there are animations in this game. You can't jump by default, but you can jump over certain objects and the animation will play. And when you stun an enemy either by shooting them in the head or shooting them in the leg, there's a kick animation. The good thing about these animations is that the enemy can't hit you. You become invulnerable. Enemies may go through you, try to hit you, but miss you. Nothing can hit you when you're in the animation, and that can save you when you're in a tight spot. There's 3 different difficulty options: easy, normal, and professional. When you beat the game 2 times, you unlock 2 different costumes for your character. The first one is a Raccoon City police uniform, and the second one is a mafia-like suit. The good thing about this is that Ashley changes her looks when you change your outfit. The Raccoon City uniform doesn't have any beneficials, but the Mafia one does. When you're in the Mafia suit, Ashley gets an armor, and enemies can't kill her nor carry her, so you don't really have to worry about her anymore. You can also unlock new weapons when you beat the game, like for example, you can unlock an RPG with unlimited ammo, you can unlock a Tommy gun with unlimited ammo, and a laser gun thingy which can one-hit any enemy including bosses. When you beat the game on professional mode, you unlock the laser gun. There's also a different campaign for Ada. You can play as her in her version of the story. It fills the gaps left in the main story by Leon. There's also a mercenary game mode, which is basically an arcade mode. I forgot to mention that when you enter the castle, sometimes when you meet the merchant, you can go in his shooting range and play the minigame. Basically, you shoot the plywood and gain score. The higher the score, the better. You unlock these bottle caps, which are fun little toys.
Don't worry, Ashley. I'm coming for you.
You can also kill the merchant and nothing will happen. He will just respawn in the next destination where he's supposed to be. There's treasure in the game. You can explore the levels and find them. You can spot them easily because they're usually flashing. When you aim your weapon, Ashley automatically goes into crouch mode to avoid hitting her, and yes, 1 bullet is enough to kill her. There's this cool laser room part. I think that this is a reference to the movies or something, I don't really know, but it's cool. And who can forget the Deadman glitch? I actually used that glitch when I was recording the footage for this review. Basically, if you didn't know, there's a glitch that speeds up Leon and everything he does by 2 times. That includes reloading, running, turning around, and etc. Also, there's a glitch with Krauser. When you fight him head on, your knife deals huge damage to him. So I recommend that you use your knife rather than your guns, because you'll kill him like 20 times faster with the knife. The graphics may be outdated, but that doesn't ruin the game at all. As for the bad things, I don't know if there are any major bad things in this game, except maybe Ashley. They capture her a lot and you can save her, but you have to watch out where you're firing. If you hit her, she's dead and it's game over for you. And you have to start from the latest checkpoint. Maybe the island part is out of place. By the time you get to the island, the game's tone shifts drastically, except the lab part. Like, the village part is all horror, the castle part is mid-horror and mid-action, but the island part is full action and no horror. Maybe that could have been avoided, but nevertheless the game is good, with it or without it. Also, the Krauser part could have been explained more, like there's no explanation why does Krauser have a beef on Leon. I had to Google it to see what's going on between them two. There's little backtracking, but nothing that's annoying or boring, and one of the things that bothers me is that you can't move while aiming. You're stuck in one place, that kinda sucks. Also, you can't move while you're reloading, and there's no crosshair in this game. There's only this laser thingy, and this is kinda annoying, but at least it's unique to this game. The AI is not that terrible, but it's not good either. Enemy AI will sometimes hit you with a precise attack, and other times it will stand there in the open and just look at you. That happens when you first spot your enemy. They point their finger at you and don't move at all. You can go right past them, which is kinda funny. As for the friendly AI, Luis will shoot Ganados in the head, and their head will explode and the parasite will come out. The problem is that the parasite has perfect aim and does lots of damage to you when it hits you, so Luis isn't helping much with that situation. As for Ashley, her AI is okay, I guess. She sometimes freezes when there's enemies around and they grab her, which is kinda annoying. One thing that bothers me is that there's no subtitles in this game, but hopefully they'll be added in the remake. In conclusion, Resident Evil 4 is a masterpiece. I finished it in like 5 hours. I could have finished it faster if it weren't for the cutscenes. You can probably finish it in like 3 hours if you speedrun. There's a remake coming out next year, and this game totally deserves a good remake. I just hope that they don't mess it up like they did with the Resident Evil 3 remake. The problem with the Resident Evil 3 remake, which I didn't like, was it's more like a movie than a game. There's tons of cutscenes and there's little gameplay and there's tons of scripted moments in that game. I didn't like that, and I hope they don't do that with Resident Evil 4 because it would suck. I hope they expand more of the characters in the remake, give them more meaning, you know, give us a backstory of them and etc. This game is a must play and it's very cheap. I think it's like €5 on Steam. I recommend that you play this game in a dark room with headphones, immerse yourself in the game and in the story for the best experience. I hope you liked my review. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I would definitely be grateful. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comment section down below.
Hasta luego.